Today, dear friends, I start a new series called Music Matters. And what we're going to do in this series is we're going to look at various aspects of the composition, arrangement and production of music. And we hope to carry you from the beginning conception of the creative process right away through to a finished product which you can let your fans and friends comment on. Just like we do in our photography class when we learn photography and we try to prepare a portfolio, we are going to do a similar creative process with music. Along the way, we are going to make decisions about whether we should use analog or modular synths, what sounds we should use, what drum program we should use, how we should treat the drums, various effects we might want to add, and finally the mix down, how to mix down your music to a finished product. The musician is in control of the creative process. And it's better that way because the musician has the vision of the end product in mind. The first decision you need to make is, are you composing instrumental music or are you composing music that has words? Being a person who has been good with words, I have an exercise book. This is the original exercise book where I can write down the visions as they come to me. This original exercise book in my own handwriting has been with me since I was 14 years old. And that, dear friends, is a long time. Now, what do we write in our book of words? We write the words as they come to us. Now, there are many unpublished songs in this book. There are many unfinished songs. Sometimes the entire thing comes in one go, and other times you just get a flash and you write it down, and sooner or later something comes to finish it. And of course, once you have finished it, you then have to conceive the music with which will make the words have life and meaning. So I'm just going to read a couple of them to give you an idea of what's involved. Listen to the beginning of this one. You haven't heard this one yet, but it has been published. As darkness creeps across the land, I reach the cave, torch in hand. No sign of life by sight or sound. I make my bed upon the ground. Now you'll see where I go with that one when you listen to the song, but that's for patrons only. Now here's another one that has not been widely circulated and you won't find anywhere on the internet. Sunshine is coming through my window, and laughter is coming from my door. The grass looks like silver, and the flowers bloom once more. I'm going to let you know what that song is about in another video. But right now we're thinking about lyrics and the lyrical essence of your music. Now, I know many of my subscribers are Christians and involved in Christian music making. Unfortunately, in many churches, they're just simply playing whatever else is popular and what the worship leader wants them to play. So if you've never actually written a song, now would be a good time to think about doing so. However, unlike other types of music you might compose, the Christian song has a definite purpose in view. And you can write all sorts of fanciful lyrics if you're doing a rock song. But when it comes to writing a Christian song, the words actually have to make sense. Okay, so unfortunately there are many Christian songs that are written by people who are not even Christians because they simply know how to write good poetry and they take a few Bible lines and they make a song around it. But when I switched over to writing Christian music, I had a change of vision. Now let's see what I had to write when I started to get involved with writing the Christian melodies. Are you worried or depressed? Jesus only wants to bless. Why are you feeling this way? Joy and peace can be yours today. Praise the Lord from your heart. Doubts and fears will soon depart. Pray to God in your distress. Jesus will help you through the mess. So you see, the similarity in your use of words is just you're putting your words now to a more important purpose. And when you put your words to a more important purpose, you have to be careful that what they say makes sense, and you have to be careful that it actually lines up with what the Bible says. May the Christians in the audience be challenged today as the Lord leads them while studying the Word of God. Dear friends, here's one that's never been set to music or published. In fact, the lyrics have never even been finished to my satisfaction. In the middle of the night it came, the sound of softly falling rain. It looked at first like dew, but in a little while I knew. Ha, friends, it's beautiful. And the thing about it is, when you look back at some of these later, in an instant the next verse comes to you. So you keep them there. You write everything in your book of words. And some of them turn into viable songs. Some of them are mature quicker than others. Some, like fine wine, may take years before you reach the final verse. But that's the nature of the creativity. We can't turn it on and off. It comes and it goes. Dear friends, blessed is the man who waits on the inspiration and doesn't try to force it. Nothing tastes worse than a force-right fruit. But how do you go about setting these lyrics to melodies and music? And what is the process you use to carry a crafted lyric to a final song? Well, dear friends, normally you get the music around the same time you get the words, but sometimes you have words and you have no suitable music. And, dear friends, while noodling with your gear, you often get music to which no words attach. So hence the reason why the same individual may turn some pieces into an instrumental and others into a worded song. Dear friends, as you Google popular songs like Angie Baby and Delta Dawn, for those people who know the music, you will realize that a lot of these melodies and words do not even come about the way you might think they do. In fact, many of the people who wrote these songs are not even the people who sing them. So if you want to sing one of my songs, say something in the comments or become a patron on Patreon, and we'll give you all the rights you need to do that. And maybe I can write some lyrics for you if you're struggling to find words to put to your songs. Anyway, getting back to the process of music creation, most of the songs that you will have heard, and you won't have heard many of my songs because this channel is primarily about educating people, not being an artist in my own right. That's coming, but that's coming through the Patreon for the supporters. However, let us talk a little bit about how we move forward from the lyrics to the actual song. Generally speaking, I noodle with a guitar. Yes, that's right, a guitar, not a keyboard. Because the chords and the rhythm and the general movement from the verse to the chorus and the chorus to the verse and the bridge and the intro and the outro and the normal arrangement of Western music pieces, particularly for church music pieces, it has to come that way, because you want to, first you decide on a key, you noodle with the guitar, you decide on a key, then the chords follow a certain pattern, but you don't necessarily have to follow the pattern, huh? And I'd like to throw in a chord that doesn't even belong in that key, just to introduce a tonality that shouldn't be there. And the unexpected is the nature of good music. You have to keep people interested, and this is something that I only learned over time. The very first song, Skyline Blues, that I wrote, the very first song was very monotonous and samey. The only thing in there that broke up the monotony was a lead piece that I played a lead guitar on. But I'm going to make sure that some of my friends and fans get a chance to hear some of my music. It's not that I'm keeping it a deep dark secret, but basically the whole reason for examining this on Music Matters is that I may teach you from my knowledge of music. So if you like that idea and you're still watching, well, then there's more in store for you. So having settled on the overall rhythm and melody, and you've written the chords above the words, you are now about the same level as what you find on Guitar Tab or Song Select or any of those guys online. You find words and chords. So the next thing you got to do now is you got to get on your drum programming, or if you want to play real drums on it, get on your drum set. Personally, I prefer to use and have always preferred to use a rhythm programmer. The first one I had was the Yamaha RX11, now I have the Alesis SR18, or I can just do it within the FA06. Vote in the comments below as to which one you want me to use in the song that we're creating for you. Okay, so once we have picked on our drum machine, we have to decide on some basic patterns. It's good to have at least 3 or 4 basic patterns, basic drumming patterns that match the song, and then you're going to have to create your fills and so in between. So what I would tend to do is I would tend to write the fills directly for each song, because my attitude towards this whole thing is that the drumming should sound like a genuine drummer, and I don't want to people to get the idea, oh, that this is just a drum machine stuck in a loop. There's one song where I had a loop going the entire song, but that was a special song. Some people would say it wasn't even a song at all, and we'll talk about that in another video. But normally we would insert some appropriate rolls and fills in between the basic patterns that we have decided, and then we have to put these into the song memory. Every drum machine or every workstation capable of creating drumming is going to have both a pattern memory and a song memory. So basically we would create the roll or the fill as a pattern, and then we would introduce it between the 2 standard peak patterns that we're trying to play as a fill, and each one would be numbered. So the song memory in every type of drum machine or workstation you will ever buy it just stores pattern numbers, a sequence of pattern numbers. That's all it does. And the patterns are what contains the actual drumming. So that was what we would do. We would have a list of patterns, which of course is going to get fairly long if you have custom fills. And that's the idea. The more custom fills you can put into your song, even if it's only a slight change, maybe a ride cymbal here or a crash cymbal there or something, you will be able to make your drumming so that the person just listening to the drum track is never really sure, is this a drum machine or is this a genuine drummer? Okay, so you spend a little time getting that together, and while you're doing that, of course, you're playing with your guitar and singing or humming to yourself the song that is being created. Now, after you've completed that step, the next step now is to add bass, or at least that's the step that I do next. I add bass after my drumming. And I'm not just interested in a bass like what any bozo can play. Basically just a root note, boom, 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 and then maybe up to the fifth, and then back to the root note. No, I want my bass to sound like, when I listen to my bass and drums by itself, my bass and drum track by itself, that should be entertaining enough that I can say, wow, I did a good job on that bass. So you need to put in some runs, you need to make your bass exciting to listen to. That's what I'm trying to say. So even when you listen to your bass and drums by itself, it doesn't have any monotony to it. You can listen practically right away through your bass and drums and say, oh, I like that part there. That was a good lick there, Stephen. That was a great lick. Next, we actually record the rhythm guitar. We've been sort of playing the rhythm guitar and singing all the while we've been doing the drums and bass, but now we actually put down the rhythm guitar as a track, and after that we move to the keys. Now it's important, here's where a lot of people go wrong, it's important to leave room between the verse and choruses for any planned fills, runs and licks that you hope to do. A good song is not going to be a good song unless you have some lead lick or some keyboard shred. So you make that decision first of all. What are we doing in this song? Are we going to have a lead guitar lick, or are we going to have some keys, a keyboard solo, or are we going to try and include all two in the same song? The only goal here is not to overstuff and make the complexity. The best songs in life are simple. Better believe it. All the top songs that people hum and sing, simple songs. So we don't want to get too flowery, but obviously a well-placed lick will do a lot to get some attention and respect in the musical community. So what we want to do is, first of all, we leave a room for the lick. Okay, we leave room for the lick, but we lay down a key bed, maybe some pads, some, you know, it depends on the rhythm of the song too. It depends on whether it's a slow song, a fast song, you know. So you get some appropriate chording going on there. And if you want to leave space, you can leave space, leave out a couple of bars or whatever. So it takes planning. You have to have this thing in your head, and if you don't want to keep it in your head, it's best to write it on a paper. So make some notes in your music book, because sooner or later you might want to do something with it. Good to have as much documentation. I wish I had more documentation for some of my early songs, because it would be easier now to recreate them. Anyway, so what we do now is we start now to think in terms of the very final finishing touches. And the final finishing touches and the last thing that you would put on is the vocals and the lead parts. That would be what you would do. Now if you were going like classic rock band setup, you can probably play the lead licks in between the words all on the same track. But that you don't need to do that today, because the beauty of the DAW is that you have unlimited number of tracks. So basically you can do it separately if you want. but you're not going to have a lead lick playing when people are singing, so they alternate, they fit in there. So if you want to have the guitar strapped on, drop the lead lick, then the next verse or chorus or something, that would be quite an acceptable way to do. And the same for keys. Now, because the keyboard is such a complicated instrument, you might want to have several tracks of keys. You might want to play over yourself, maybe have some kind of counter melody going on in there. But the whole thing that I've discovered is, don't get too complicated in any one song. If there's anything wrong, maybe with movies and music in this day and age, 2021, it is that people are getting too complex, and it detracts, in the case of the movie, from the plot. It detracts from the plot when they get really too flowery and complicated with the special effects and all sorts of other stuff that's sticking there. And in the case of your song, the person's concentration and attention can only handle so much. But it's always good to have a little something changing and going on in the background, because unless you're doing a very robotic song about, a very mechanized song about our dystopian future, then you're going to want to have something going on in the background so that a person that listens to your music 2 or 3 times can actually hear it at different levels and different depths depending on what they're concentrating. Because the initial person who listens to the song, like when you watch a movie, you don't see everything, all the fine details. But as you listen to it more and more, the what's going on in the background becomes more interesting, and you say to yourself, this song is a really great song. Look at that guy's talent. Look at what he's done there. Yeah, guys, you want people to be saying that about you. So let me help you. And we're going to wrap it up for today. And I know some people do not like talking, but it is this talking that will get you creating your proper music. So after today, now we are going to, in part 2, we are going to look at actually laying down our first tracks. Okay? So get ready, guys. Get out that pencil and paper. Take some notes, write some lyrics, and see you in the next video.